Mina Aissatou Smile Cissé and today the camera de na you building na the Ministry of Information and Communication concerning the press briefing where the Ministry of Information gets as the task force where the government don't set up for solve electricity business that the country they can tell you about how prepared them be and also waiting at some of the crimes them where they on right now on electricity in the country.
I'd like to welcome you to this emergency press conference on the operations of the Joint Field Task Force on Electricity Theft and other related electricity crimes. This is an emergency press briefing, so we keep it short and to the point, as we also expect the arrival of the Minister of Energy to join us. We have key personalities here with us, and I'd like our Minister to welcome his colleague ministers and the IG to this press briefing, and we will introduce the speaker later on.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I like, on behalf of the ministry and indeed the Minister of Energy and Power, to welcome the very top echelons of the police here, represented by the Inspector General of Police and his team, his media one. Is that a promotion? What I see there? Congratulations! Yeah, wishing you a very successful career. I have here my colleague, Honorable Pandanoa, the Minister of Internal Affairs. I have here the Deputy Minister of Defense, Pamasakwe. I call him Pa for very obvious reasons. And a host of other distinguished colleagues here. Particularly, the meeting is here top heavy today from the Ministry of Energy and Power. The minister has asked that I graciously extend his apologies for joining us late. A very compelling Zoom meeting has run into this meeting, but he will be joining us at some point. The topic here is very, very clear. We are here to discuss what has today become a very, very serious problem plaguing the energy sector. We all yearn for affordable energy. We all yearn for clean, sustainable energy all of the time. And you could see this government has made very relentless efforts to supply energy, affordable energy, to supply sustainable energy. But yet, you have a group of very dedicated and committed Sierra Leoneans who are bent on pulling this country back and who are bent on undermining the gains, so diligently working to ensure that the torpedo all of the gains this government is making in the energy sector. It has gotten to a point that it has now become a national security issue. For this reason, you see here the very distinguished galaxy of men and women who are charged with law enforcement, from the political level to the professionals here assembled today to ensure that we are able to deal this crime, a lethal blow. Already, they will go into the nitty-gritties of the challenge and how together we are going to work to ensure that we roll it back. This is a war we must win, So the presence of the IG, the Deputy Minister of Defense, the Internal Affairs Minister, and other law enforcement agencies here is enough reason to warn those who need warning and to reassure those who need reassurance. On that note, I'll call on Mr. Toure to commence this program. Gentlemen, you're most heartily welcome.
Thank you very much. And to lay the premise of why we are here and to explain exactly the purpose of this press briefing, we have the chairman of the Special Compliance and Enforcement Officer from the Office of the Ministry of Energy, Dr. David Coker, who set the stage for us. And after that, we have, as introduced by the minister, all key sectors represented here for Q&A. And later, the minister's office will also enforce whatever or expound on certain issues that may arise. On this note, I now invite Dr. David Coker to lay the foundation for the discourse. Thank you.
IG, Inspector General of Police, other heads of offices, good afternoon. As we've already heard what the Honorable Minister of Information has already outlined about the importance of this ceremony, so I'll just round down a background of the events, why this task force was set up. As mentioned by the Minister, this has become a national security concern. So due to the performance of EDSA, which is the sole distribution and supply authority in the country, it has been running at a serious loss, and it has become an embarrassment to the ministry. As a result of the government is spending a lot of revenue into EDSA, and yet still it has not been able to function the way the government expects it. So most of these factors are these commercial losses, which are due to illegal abstractions, electricity theft, etc., meter tampering. So because of these losses, it has caused the authority not to be able to function properly. So against this backdrop, so the government, under the President's directives, established two bodies, namely the Special Compliance and Enforcement Unit, as well as the Joint Task Force. So the Special Compliance is the administrative part, and the Joint Task Force is where we have the police, the military, etc. So the main purpose of this actually is to increase the revenues and also to expedite the prosecution processes. So prior to this, so now the task force has already started working. The minister will deliberate more into that. But prior to the task force coming into existence, the minister, along with his deputy of energy, led a team of engineers, director generals of EDSA, to go around and see the extent of destruction that have been caused by these people that are trying to vandalize the systems of the network of EDSA, so that he can have a first-hand knowledge to what extent that these damages has occurred. So on the basis of that, the operation has started, and we cover 8 zones in the city. So those 8 zones, each zone consists of 2 teams, where we go in the capital, in the east, as well as in the western area. So work is ongoing. As I said, the main purpose here is to how to increase the revenue of EDSA, as well as to minimize this electricity theft. So at this juncture, I will break here for now. So the Honorable Minister will continue from here. I thank you very much.
So we are a government, and a government that clearly has the people at the center and for of everything we do. The people are at the center of everything we do. So for us, access is key. Access is the most important. We want people to access it so that EDSA could remain profitable, could become profitable and sustainably so. So that's very important to note. We want access, we want affordability. That is why we are concerned about all of these undermining efforts, right? So the Deputy Minister is here. He will be saying a few things while we await the arrival of the Minister of Energy and Power. You'll be hearing in the course of the press conference from the IG. We have also been in touch in consultations with the Chief Justice and other members of the judiciary. So this stay has reached unbearable proportions. This is now a call to action, and we are very ready, very prepared for that. So the Deputy Minister of Energy and Power, Dr. Taylor, would want to say a few things while we await the arrival of his boss. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ministers of Government, the Inspector General of Police, the ONS boss, our friends from the media. I bring you greetings from the Ministry of Energy. My statement is going to be very brief because the Honorable Minister apparently is very close to this building now. And of course, having listened to what the Honorable Minister of Information was saying earlier when I entered this room, and supported by the task force head, who is Dr. Coker, I think the background to which we are gathered here today has been laid, and further discussions and deliberations I'm sure you'll get very soon from the Honorable Minister with respect to giving especially the proportion or the statistics of all of the assets that have been vandalized by people, especially government assets from EDSA, and this has become a national security issue. And that's the reason why you heard from what Dr. Coker said, that His Excellency the President had to convene an emergency meeting with all of the high-profile security apparatus just to see how we could get everybody on board, to see how we could mitigate all of these destructions that are happening, especially in EDSA's outlets. And that's the more reason why, as a ministry, as much as we know that the media plays an important role, especially in information dissemination, we thought it very fit to come and then explain to the public through which you will now convey this message, especially to our people, for them to know that, you know, the proportion of destruction of government assets and the scale of illegal abstraction of electricity has reached an alarming point that we need to take actions. And in all of the actions that we are going to take could also be supported by you. So on this note, I just want to stop here, and I crave your indulgence to gracefully wait for the Honorable Minister as he will be here in the next 5-10 minutes. Thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to a lively discussion as we move this dialogue forward. Thank you.
Yes, I also like to recognize the presence of the ONS. My brother, Honorable Languba Kelly. Oh, sorry, I forgot. They say we should not call you people honorable. Yeah. But that's used as an adjective, don't worry. So, the reason why we are assembled here today, amongst other things, is because journalists are also consumers of electricity. So beyond dissemination of information, you are also victims. When electricity supply and distribution is undermined, right? When the gains in the sector are torpedoed, it all gets affected. So that is why you are here in double trust. One, as people who might help us disseminate information, and on the other front, people who also need electricity to be able to deliver on your daily chores, to keep your profession alive, active, and to keep you in business. So this is a civic duty. All of us should answer to this clarion call and do the things we should do from wherever we are to ensure that we defeat this menace, which is threatening the gains we are making in this sector. I am told that under the leadership of Alhaji Kanja, electricity supply has moved from 15 to 31%. Is that? Yes. In Sierra Leone. So this is a great success. It's a huge success. And I'm sure that is set to grow, in coming days, weeks, and months. But it takes all of us as citizens to stand up and be counted in this moment when Sierra Leone needs us very much. No development is going to be sustainable without electricity, and that is why our government is putting her best foot forward to ensure that we generate and distribute adequate amount of electricity. But it behoves all of us to play our parts to ensure that this electricity, all of the hindrances to access are addressed. Dr. Coker just mentioned some of them. This is an industry thing. So we have to ensure that we address it. It would have been really great if we had the videos here we can be showing while, because I have seen very, 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 graphic videos of people vandalizing electricity installations and assets across the country. Do we have that here? I mean, just have it on phone. We can show it here. This is MIC. Okay, so as you are scavenging for them, the press conference will continue. I did not want the Internal Affairs Minister to speak before the Minister of Minister of Energy and Power. I mean, yours will typically be a reinforcement of his position as the task force team leader, you know. So I would like at this point to be interacting with the press on other issues as we await the arrival of the Honorable Minister. So, okay. Are there any issues you want to know? You want to seek clarification on from me? Before we go say, you have a chance now. Ask her now.
I think the notice calls for other related issues.
It is the other related issues now.
Other related issues, you can ask questions whilst we wait for the arrival of the minister. Are there issues?
Well, if there are no issues, that means, you know, President B is doing very well. Most heartily welcome, Alaji. ACDS, most heartily welcome. I told you he was attending to other compelling national engagements, which is why he's coming in a little after the event, but he actually gave us advance notice. Like I just mentioned before he came in, he has been fraught with some of the most resilient challenges, but he has also shown a lot of standard stuff, from moving electricity generation and distribution from 15 to 31%, and still committed to pushing the boundaries and delivering more and more. In the course of this work, he's been confronted by very formidable enemies of the state too, who are determined by all means possible to undermine the gains of this administration, of Alhaji Kanja Sise and his team, and indeed of President Biu and this government. We have reached push na the wall at the top. Yes. So we have reached a point of no return. We now want to use this moment to make a few declarations. Alhaji, you are not unfamiliar to press conferences at home and abroad. It is now my honor and privilege to usher you here so that you can speak to your people who themselves are consumers of electricity, whose career will take a nosedive or will not happen if there is no electricity. So today we are talking to them in double trust, not just as members of the Fourth Estate, but as also subscribers to EDSA as key beneficiaries of electricity. I don't see which of the radio stations will be on air in the absence of electricity. I don't see which all the newspapers will drown in the absence of electricity. So this is a challenge. It's a call to action, right? For all of us to rise up and perform our civic duties now than ever before. So Alhaji, it's now my pleasure to welcome you to make your statement. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Honorable Minister of Information and Communication, other colleague ministers, especially the ministers of Internal Affairs and Defense, our key stakeholders in the security sector, again, especially the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Defense Staff, or his representative, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues from the Ministry of Energy, our esteemed members of the press. It's always a very pleasant opportunity for me to face you, the press, and through you to talk to our people. I'm not here today as a happy man at all. Normally when I face you, I like to be smiling and talking to you in very jovial mood. But we are here today because we have been compelled to be here through the unpatriotic efforts of some members of our population. How did we get here? Like the Minister of Information has said, and like I said here before in this very press conference, this very conference room, even at the risk of repeating what I said at that time, we inherited a very, very terrible electricity situation. Energy access was terrible, standing at about 16% then of our population. Distribution network was very, very poor. The generation capacity was very, very low. And we took off from there. At some point, it became not fashionable anymore to start talking about the problems, but to pay attention to the solutions. And therefore, under the directives of His Excellency the President, Julius Maada Bio, my mandate was cut out. My job description was given. Increase energy access so that our people, more and more of our people, will have access to electricity, which is very, very key and essential in our livelihood and to the development of our economy. So we took off on a journey. But then, it is no secret that energy generation, distribution, and transmission is a very, very capital-intensive project. And so, by necessity, government cannot, by itself, provide all the resources required to give us electricity or universal access to electricity in the country. And so, we started on a journey of partnership, of looking for private capital for investment into the sector. I must say thanks to God that the response has been positive so far. I believe as members of the press, you've been seeing me going all over the country, lighting up places which had been for decades without electricity. I've gone through some of those, and I don't want to waste your time telling you what we have done so far. But we have increased access. We have increased energy access through commissioning of new projects all over the place, especially in the solar space. Now, while that is going on, and I believe, especially because we are making those gains, there are, as always, people who are not happy about that. And what have they resorted to? They've resorted to frustrating government effort in providing much needed service to our people through various antisocial means, ranging from vandalization or theft of our electricity infrastructure. You've seen we put some measures in place, and today I'm not saying that is over, but the vandalization of our transformers has decreased substantially. And that's because we put in some measures to tackle that. It's still happening, but at greater risk today than before. Now, while the generation has increased, we are not seeing a commensurate reflection of that in our revenue. EDSA, that is the Electricity Distribution and Supply Authority, is the one charged with the distribution of electricity to the last mile, for you and I to consume electricity, for industries or factories. to have access to electricity. And therefore, they are the ones collecting the revenue. We've seen that increasingly we pump more energy into the system, but that is not reflected in the revenue that we are collecting. Our revenue either decreases or stays stagnant most of the time. We went into research, we went into finding out the reasons for this. And not surprisingly, because we've known this for a very long time, we've seen that the spate of electricity theft and other forms of electricity crimes is on the increase, ranging from meter bypass, illegal connections, other forms of abstraction. People want to use energy, but they don't want to pay for it. It became not only an economic concern, but also a security concern. To the point that our colleagues in the security sector, because of the rampant blackout in the city, escalated this to the level of the National Security Committee or Council, which is chaired by no less a person than His Excellency the President himself. From their point of view, i.e. the security people, the blackout makes a lot of room for various forms of crimes in the city. So I was summoned by the President to ask me, what's this all about? And we said, the blackout is due to some factors. Each time, for example, you vandalize one transformer, on average, each transformer services about 300, 400 to 500 people. So whenever you go and vandalize one transformer, you are depriving about 500 people from electricity. A whole community. We try to address that. That's on the security aspect. On the economic aspect, I just said to you that this was not reflecting, in spite of the fact that we have a lot of adequate energy into the system, we pump it into the system, we are not getting returns by way of revenue for it. And the implication of that was that we were putting a lot of burden on the national budget. Every month, the Ministry of Finance has to provide huge subsidies to the energy sector. I'm not saying we are supposed to be making profit, but we are supposed to be making a break-even so that we are able to pay our IPPs, that is, the independent power producers. We buy from them, like the car powership. They supply us energy and we pay for it. And the money we use to pay for it is the money that you and I pay by way of the tariffs, the top-ups. But people are not paying. And so when you don't pay, we are not able to pay the IPPs in return. When we don't pay them, and it's an obligation, it's a contract, it's a commitment that we have to meet. And if we don't do it, they will cut off electricity. Government cannot afford that kind of embarrassment. Because of that, the Ministry of Finance has to strenuously, at the expense of some other sectors, which are equally in need of meager resources, to be pumping subsidies into the energy sector. So, I was directed to escalate this to a level of national security concern. And the President advised that I call my colleagues in the Ministries of Defense, Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Information and Communication, to a meeting at the ONS, to a meeting in which we formed what was then called the steering committee. We formed that steering committee, and the steering committee decided to put together a planning committee to come up with a budget and some other logistical requirements for the attention of the steering committee, which we did. We ought to have come to you before now, but we wanted to test how these special task forces will be operating. And I believe by now, many of you would have seen teams comprising ONS, the police, the military, and ourselves going round and looking for various forms of electricity abstraction and crimes. We are here today to formally introduce that task force to the public, that it has started operating, and we're going to expand their operations, and to make them more effective and cost efficient and cost effective. We went to the point of also, under the directives of His Excellency the President, to appeal to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and to the Chief Justice to set up special electricity crimes courts. I'm pleased to announce to you that 6 of such courts have been set up. 6. Covering various parts of the town. The essence here is, once people are arrested, they should be subjected to a fast-track court system, whereby they will be charged, sent to court, and then imprisoned or fined, as the case may be. That has started. So far, we've had about 62 crimes. Suspects who have been arrested. Some, as I speak here right now, some are in police custody. Some are facing various courts in the town. So, the message is clear that we are now at a point, with the support of our colleagues in the police and the military, to draw a line, to warn everybody that illegal abstractions, electricity crimes are going to be treated with the urgency and seriousness that they deserve. Because once you go and steal electricity, you are depriving some other people of getting electricity. If you vandalize our transformer, you are depriving communities. If you bypass a meter and therefore don't pay your top-up, don't buy electricity, you are depriving. You are limiting our ability to give more people electricity. It's serious, and there's no hiding place for anybody again. And this is not going to be business as usual, I can assure you. The teams are there. They've started the operations. And this is why you see today this press conference, even though it's a Minister of Energy press conference, you see in our midst the Deputy Minister of Defense, the Minister of Internal Affairs, the Inspector General of Police, very senior military officers who are here. They're here deliberately because that is the composition of the team. We also have ONS here at the highest level. The President and the Vice President are all aware of this, and they have given instructions that whoever interferes with this process will also face the courts. And when I say whoever, I mean whoever interferes with it, including myself. Some arrests have been made, and some people call me, and I say, I'm sorry, I can't help. Members of my staff have been warned. If they're involved in it, they should just desist. The honeymoon is over. The holiday is over. Whoever is caught in this will face the full penalty of the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today, with the support of my colleagues, to introduce to you the special task forces that government has set up under the directives of His Excellency the President to address various forms of electricity crimes. Thank you very much.
Let us not thief electricity. I think that will help, because electricity, like water, they are almost of the same thing. Good afternoon from the police front. We have been talking to the people of this country that energy is power. If we are to grow as a nation, we must stand up that we could be able to produce adequate energy that will encourage factories. Factories can provide employment. More employment can reduce crime, and sometimes my job will be less. I think we in the security sector, we are ready to support this presidential task force to implement and ensure that all those who have been in habit of stealing electricity, vandalizing them, so that they can cripple government efforts to foster development in this country, their time is up. But we are now working with the military, the civil society, the press, because all of us need light. And in doing this enforcement, a lot of people, after some arrest, they will call me. They will now say, we have gone to electricity. Electricity people said we must revert to you. And those matters are not matters that are negotiable. Once you're allowed to be caught, you've been arrested, please don't come to me, I beg of you. But let us talk to our community people, let us talk to our people. The bad people are in the community, and they are very few. The good people are so many, but we keep quiet, we don't talk. And when the transformer is off and there is no light, we started saying, Mr. Government does not give us light. Mr. Government is you and I. Whether you are a sympathizer or those in governance or those in governance waiting, we all need development if we are to make Sierra Leone be a habitable place, enviable for people to come. We will not be running away looking for visas to go to other people's country. By and large, Mr. Minister will support, from the police will support your vision, you will support this process. I promise with the police, especially having dressed them in new ranks. So my public relations officer is an assistant commissioner of police. Yes, and with the energy, we were able, let me just tell you what the police did a few days ago. They were all over in Makini there. People have wanted to make noise, but when they look at the police, the posture of the police, there was no problem. Of course, hate speeches and other things were managed. We did not make arrest, and we have not provoked any situation. But those who are in habit of doing that, stop it, because Sierra Leone is for us all. Once again, we will continue to support EDSA in all their strive in order to prevent those who potential, well, shall I call them criminals, that are in habit of destroying the effort of the EDSA to supply adequate electricity that can help us bring development to this country. Shall I ask my mouth to shut up?
What happened in Lunge?
In Lunge, of course, we are all aware that radical situations must be dealt with radically. So, like you, if I may cut you, That one was home-grown situation that was addressed by homegrown innovation. And that innovation has gone far and wide. And the aftermath of it, I will give you in the next press briefing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. The Minister of Energy, Minister of Information, Minister of Internal Affairs, Deputy Ministers, including myself, representative of ONS, Inspector General of Police, senior military and police officers, members of the 4th Estate. We as a Ministry of Defense are very much concerned with the issue of energy theft. When once issues become national security issues, it becomes our baby. So therefore, we want to assure the task force that we will support fully with the implementation of His Excellency's aspiration regarding the theft of electricity. We as a ministry are there to complement the efforts of our sister security sectors, especially the police. So we are always there to back them up, and we assure the Minister of Energy, the population of this country, that we will support fully to ensure that we implement whatever we can do to bring sanity to the electricity sector. So on that note, without wasting much time, I want to assure you that the Ministry of Defense is fully committed to this process, and we will go extra mile to ensure that we achieve our goals and aspirations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the security sector, specifically with Leone Alston. I'm Lamoma Kelly, a senior director in ONS, and I've been part of the planning team representing ONS in this entire effort that was put in place by a presidential directive to assist ETSA with regards to the issues that have already been highlighted by the Minister of Energy, Alaji Ganges, said. Of course, the Minister has already reiterated to you that there has been an increase in the supply of electricity from 15 to 31%, and as a manifestation of that, an appreciable number of us are enjoying light, as the case might be. But also suffice it to note that in as much as they've faced tremendous strides, they've also been grappling with serious issues related to the supply of electricity, issues related to illegal connections, as you already highlighted, the bypass of meters and other forms of electricity theft, and of course, the flagrant vandalization of electricity facilities. That's a worrisome development. If you look at the act that established ONS, the National Security and Central Intelligence Act of 2002, amongst our functions, it stipulates that we are responsible for protective security measures in all ministries, departments, and agencies. And we also have responsibility for the protection of critical national infrastructure, inclusive of our communications facilities, our electricity generation facilities. And we have a whole directorate in the ONS that has responsibility for that. So when we are charged with the responsibility of assisting ETSA, of course, we came up to the task. And the kind of security provision we deliver for this country is a coordinated security architecture that we have. So all of us who are so-called security experts came on board and worked with the technical team for ETSA and constituted the team and also developed operational orders as the case might be. We're also glad to note, as already been highlighted by the Minister, that our months of work have come to fruition. The task force has already started its operations, And we in ONS also have a responsibility of activating our national situation room. We are in the intelligence information room coming, we process it either for policy, operational directives as the case might be. As this operation commenced, we have activated our national situation room, and that situation room is now run on a 24/7 basis. We also have access to toll-free lines 119. If citizens, we are encouraging citizens, if you notice any abnormality in the form of electricity extraction or vandalization, please feel free to share those information with us. We'll necessarily process them for either operational directives, as the case might be, to aid the task force, or for policy directives from government, as the case might be. But suffice it to note that we are not going to relent, as stated by the Minister. We'll ensure that the provision of electricity is available to the citizens as long as it is within the remit of EDSA, and that people are not unnecessarily vandalizing EDSA properties and also engaging in other acts of criminality, thereby depriving the necessary resources that should be put in place to expand on the provision of electricity. Even when we are talking about 30%, 40%, even if we have electricity up to 60%, I'm sure we'll all clamor for the day when we have unimpeded access to electricity to even 100%. That should be our ultimate objective. You know, it's not nice to always go for the middle. If you have it, have it. And this is that kind of thing that we are trying to aspire to. So we're also appealing to the public to please work in concert with the task force team that you'll be seeing, and please feel free to share any necessary intelligence or information with us. Even where it's necessary to keep your identity in silos, it can be kept in silos, we rest assured, so long as we achieve our ultimate objective. And those are the few messages I have from my boss, the acting national security. Thank you very much.